This is the Kennet River and has nothing to do with the following documentary. The following programme will concern the teleological argument and focus on some key musings from people who are dead and people who are nearly dead. It's only a matter of time. William S. Paley was the key thinker and driving force of the teleological argument. He summed up his thoughts in his watchmaker's analogy. Put simply, the watch is a complex object requiring a designer. However, the universe is a far more complex object, thus and therefore requiring a far more complex designer, namely God. That's a swan. Let's head to the scales to elaborate.
And these are the scales. And these are the scales dwarf. Scales dwarf! Thank you. Shoot. Now, Paley made an interesting point, saying that life is too complex to be without design. However, despite being a good explanation of creation back from when he was around in the 1700s or 1800s, when science wasn't really at its fullest, it did explain where we came from. However, now, where we have science, it does fill in a lot of the gaps that the teleological argument does attempt to fill in itself. Therefore, we believe this argument not to be as full as it should have been back then. However, as a founding view, we do need to take his argument in perspective. So, Scales dwarf, the teleological argument from Paley, please. Thank you for that philosophical argument. And that goes in the side for teleological argument. So, the teleological argument is winning.
David Hume was a famous atheist who came to light as a famed opposition of the design argument. However, what you pitiful humans don't seem to realise is that Hume came up with his ideas before Paley, thus making Paley a cheat. Hume then went on to describe the fact that there could be multiple gods. In fact, design is the work of many humans, so then could not the universe be the work of many gods? He also described design as being an anthropomorphous principle, due to the fact that design is a human concept, and applying it to a divine being is ridiculous. He then went on to say that since there was so much fault in the world, that it could have been designed by an infant god. He then went on about these theories for quite a long time, then described the universe as a vegetable. Back to the scales.
Hume actually said the universe is like a vegetable or inert animal, growing of its own accord. Not life is a vegetable, as my colleague said. Now, Hume's ideas are well thought through, and considering the fact he came before Paley, it does mean that his ideas are plausible, saying that there could be multiple gods, or indeed the universe is growing of its own accord. This would fit in with Darwin's theory of evolution. We quite like this theory, as for its time it is quite well advanced and does fit into modern sciences. As a result, we are going to put it on the scales. Scales dwarf, the box of philosophical arguments, please. Thank you. This is Hume's philosophical argument, and it will go in the side against the teleological argument. As you can see, the scales are balanced.
I'm no longer behind the tree. Saint Thomas Aquinas was Italian, and a real winner at theologian age battle contests, boasting 800 years and 350 hit points. He came up with his ideas about design a long time before William Aubergine Paley was born, and decided that he could prove God in not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 6, but 5 ways. He called these 5 ways of proving God in 5 ways his 5 ways. Now, back to the scales.
Yes, Aquinas was Italian, and a saint. His views were rather interesting, claiming that the universe is like a bow and arrow, needing a mover to take it to its direction. However, we don't like this view, as it is assuming that the universe has a set direction, which, as a group, we believe is not the truth. We believe it is a growing of its own accord. However, his 5 ways must be taken into account. And the others. However, only one of his 5 ways was involved with the design argument. And now the scales are swinging in favour of Christianity.
We're in a field, those are some cows, I'm wearing trousers, we're good to go. Arthur Brown was a Christian philosopher who believed that the ozone layer itself was proof that God existed. However, all he succeeded in doing was regurgitating William I went to the park Paley's views, simply using the ozone layer instead of the universe. Now let's weigh up the argument with the scales.
It can also be put into question that a zoologist was spending more time with the ozone layer than the animals he's supposedly caring of. As a result, we don't quite like this theory. Although, it being a philosophical theory, we do need to put it on the scale. So, scales are off, the philosophical argument for Brown. It's all gone to pot. The scales are once again inbound to Christianity.
Immanuel Kant had a big forehead. Also, he said that the design argument cannot work, as the order we perceive in the universe, what we use to explain design, only exists within our own minds. Humans themselves create this order. Back to the scales to weigh up the argument.
Of all the views we've seen today, Immanuel Kant's the ones we most believe in. Mainly because he says that the only reason that we find a design in the universe is because we look for one. This view can match to pretty much everyone who does consider design, in that the only design they need, the only design they think they find, is the one they're looking for. Scales go off? Yeah. Thank you very much. On go, Immanuel Kant. So the scales are once again balanced.
Our opinion is that the teleological argument is not correct. We believe that there does not need to be a designer. In fact, we quite agree with Hume.
In that not only is there isn't a design if you don't look for one, and also the universe has no set direction, therefore it does not need design. Also, Arthur Brown sucks.